The only problem with that is that we all have our own loopholes and our own tax preferences, and it's very hard to muster the political will to take things away from people. So, some of the most expensive preferences are, for instance, the tax-free treatment of employer-provided health care, or the mortgage interest deduction. We'd love to take away the loopholes from the rich guys. We don't want to give up our own.
If you look at the history of how people have explained the rationale for high taxes on the top earners, how much of that hinges on a redistribution of wealth argument? In other words, that the very, very wealthy should pay for programs that help lift up the bottom.
It's important to be specific when we talk about redistribution about what it is we're actually trying to redistribute. And historically, there have been people who have defended progressive taxes as a means to redistribute wealth. I think, though, if you look at what actually moves lawmakers to make decisions, it's not about redistributing wealth, it's about redistributing the tax burden. We talk a lot about their fair share, and I name my book Their Fair Share. But the reason it's actually a useful phrase to think about is the share of what? Is it the share of wealth, or is it the share of the tax burden? Historically, the share of the tax burden has really been what's driving the debate.
Joseph Thorndike, thanks for coming in.
Thanks very much.
Joseph Thorndike's upcoming book is titled Their Fair Share, Why Americans Tax the Rich. You can check out a timeline of the highs and lows of marginal tax rates at our website, npr.org.
And people go to the polls in several states and the District of Columbia tomorrow. These are the last major primaries of the season. Among the marquee races, a special election in Delaware to fill the seat once held by Vice President Joe Biden. 9-term Republican Congressman Mike Castle is fighting hard for the seat, but he's locked in a fierce battle with Tea Party conservative Christine O'Donnell. Their bare-knuckled campaign is quite a departure from the traditionally civil politics of the first state, as Joel Rose reports.
A few months ago, Delaware...
Cassio Batiste grew up without his father around. It wasn't that unusual. Other boys he knew were in the same situation. Cassio says when he played basketball, he'd always check to see if his father had come to the game.
He came from time to time, but seeing him in the bleachers, it made me want to play a whole lot harder. And even though we didn't have a good relationship, I still wanted to satisfy him or to make him proud.
Cassio says he grew up without much of an understanding of what a father was supposed to do. That all changed when his sister was deployed to Iraq and he volunteered to take care of her 2 boys. He discovered there's a big difference between childcare and full-time parenting. And all that changed his own idea of what it means to be a father. I'm Dick Gordon. This is The Story.
The Story is produced by North Carolina Public Radio, WUNC. It's co-produced by American Public Media.
Coming up later in the program, I'll talk with a hospice worker who came up with the unusual idea of arranging a marriage for a man who was dying. First, though, Cassio Batiste's journey into fatherhood.